There's always two at the top. It's really Carti and Uzi.
Once upon a time, Playboi Carti and Lil Uzi Vert were regarded as the biggest and greatest duo of the newest generation, leading the 2010s SoundCloud wave with their own flows and styles. No one else could compete. Together, they made hits that are still loved by fans to this day. But the two have always been on and off with each other, and Carti himself has a long history of abandoning his friends when he can no longer benefit from them. So today, we'll be exploring the history of Playboi Carti and Lil Uzi Vert, why they don't make music anymore, the current state of their relationship, and will we ever see them make music again? Carti and Uzi would meet around 2015, just as Playboi Carti was starting to integrate himself within the ASAP mob and their people in New York. The two quickly became good friends, which was primarily due to them both being rappers within the same SoundCloud mumble rapper scene and also having the same style. Uzi would actually be a lot bigger than Carti, as in 2016 he was releasing viral hits such as You Were Right, Money Longer, and was even featured on the Billboard #1 song Bad and Bougie with the Migos. Whereas Carti didn't really have hits back then. He had a couple songs get buzz, such as Broke Boy and Plug, but Uzi was heading into the peak of his career, while Carti was just starting. And this is actually quite important to their relationship. They were on different levels, and Carti being able to connect with a mainstream artist like Uzi so early on in his career, well, he was extremely lucky, and it would end up being very beneficial for him, which I will get into later. They would begin their partnership by releasing the song Left Right on the 28th of January in 2016. Due to the positive reception they received from this single, they would quickly announce that they would be doing a 9-city tour the following month. Just a couple months later, Uzi would release the Perfect Love tape, which featured Carti on the song Of Course We Ghetto Flowers. Then the following year, Playboi Carti was looking to release his debut commercial mixtape, but of course, he was quite a small artist at the time. As I mentioned before, he had a couple popular SoundCloud songs, people knew him because he was signed to Rocky, but he didn't have a huge buzz. But what he did have was his best friend, Lil Uzi Vert, as his wingman. So to roll out his self-titled mixtape, Carti would drop 2 singles on the 10th of March in 2017, Looking and Woke Up Like This, both featuring rap's new biggest superstar, Lil Uzi Vert, who was at the time in the peak of his career, as he had an insane amount of hype from his single EXO Tour Life, which to this day is still the biggest song in his discography. And funnily enough, both of these songs were some of the highest streamed on the project. More specifically, Woke Up Like This, which is one of Carti's biggest songs to this day. So to put it in simple terms, Carti was insanely lucky to be friends with Uzi back in the day, as Uzi gave him an insane amount of exposure.
Me and Uzi be in the studio together at all times, and we just be knowing, you know what I'm saying? We're a team.
Then in the summer of 2017, Lil Uzi Vert would release Love Is Rage 2, which debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 with 135,000 album sales in the first week. Which if we compare that to Carti's self-titled mixtape that sold 28k first week just a couple months before, it is now easy to see the size difference between the two. And now that we're moving into the final quarter of 2017 and both artists have released their own solo projects, Carti and Uzi will start teasing the release of their collaborative tape 1629. In the September of 2017, Carti posted Carti Uzi tape, Uzi Carti tape 1629, which was basically hinting that they were dropping a mixtape together very soon. And from that day is when fans started to await the 1629 tape, with 16 standing for the 1600 area code of Lil Uzi Vert's block in Philadelphia, and 29 standing for the 2900 area code of Playboi Carti's block in Atlanta. However, just a month later, leakers would start disturbing the rollout of this album. The first song that leaked would be Breaking the Bank, which actually got fans even more excited for this project. And luckily, the leak wouldn't ruin anything though, as Carti and Uzi would continue the rollout of 1629. A couple days later, they would announce a tour that they would be doing together. But 24 hours later, Lil Uzi Vert stated that he will not be going on the tour with Carti and that he needs to focus, which is pretty unusual from Uzi. Venues were booked, openers were selected, and tickets were being sold, just for him to pull out. I mean, not only did he ruin it for everyone, but also himself, because two of the most popular coming up at the time, doing a nationwide tour, they were missing out on an insane amount of money. Now, after this tweet of Uzi announcing that he's dropping out from the tour, well, Carti and Uzi didn't speak on 1629 for a long time, and it kind of seemed like the idea of it was dead. But what caused Uzi to drop out of the tour during this 2017 period? Well, firstly, we have his tweet, "Need to focus," which doesn't make a lot of sense. He just dropped his debut studio album, which performed extremely well and was loved by fans. I'm not sure what "need to focus" could mean. Was he maybe not happy with how that album came out? Or he was just very dedicated to his craft and wanted to focus more on his solo career, as 1629 was a collaborative tape with Carti, who was a much smaller artist than Uzi. So for Uzi, there isn't much of a career gain after dropping this tape with Carti. Whereas for Carti, it would give him a huge amount of exposure, which actually may have had the reverse effect on Carti himself, as he may have not even wanted this album to drop, as back then, his two biggest songs were Magnolia and Woke Up Like This, with the latter featuring Uzi. And if 1629 did release, well, the majority of his discography would have been outstreamed by these collab songs with Uzi, and may have given him the image that he's only popular because of Uzi, and that he kind of is his sidekick. Well, if that wasn't the reason, well, was it the leaks? Break the Bank leaked in October, then in December, Squad would leak, which was rumoured to be another song from the 1629 tape. But again, two songs leaking shouldn't be a big deal, when these guys are best friends, and they probably had hundreds of songs in the vault. An interviewer would actually ask Carti about the 1629 collab tape, where Carti completely dodged the question by replying with, "Me and Uzi go crazy." The interviewer would then follow up with, "How many songs do you guys have in the vault together?" Where Carti answered 100, then added that they have been recording since 2015. When in the late December of 2017, Carti would take it upon himself to continue teasing the release of 1629, as he would post a snippet of the Break the Bank music video to Instagram, where he stated that the video would be dropping at the end of December. However, the video would be quickly deleted just 10 minutes later, which crushed the fans' dreams of 1629 releasing. And after that, it was silence again. And really, it was the last time we would hear about 1629 from Playboi Carti himself. Moving into 2018, more songs would leak. Bankroll, Big Bank, and Throw It Up, which were all supposed to be on 1629. Now, leaks wouldn't be the only thing affecting the release of their collaborative mixtape, but also Playboi Carti's debut studio album, Die Lit. Coming up to the release of the album, the lead single to the project, Love Hurts, featuring Travis Scott, would leak, alongside a cluster of other songs, which is when Carti and his team panicked and quickly released a single on streaming services to manage the damage the leak would do to the streams. Further leaks such as Foreign, Chopper Won't Miss, and Shooter would cause Carti and his team to surprise drop the album one day after announcing the release date, as again, Carti and his team didn't want the leaks to screw up the performance of the album. The song Shooter would feature Uzi himself, as the song was actually originally a Lil Uzi Vert song, until he gave it away to Carti as he thought it wasn't good enough. Lil Uzi Vert also had his fair share of problems with leakers. One time he got so frustrated with his music being leaked that he went and pulled up to one of the people that was behind leaking his music and humiliated him on Instagram.
Stand up. Skinny ass, bitch ass nigga, sit down. Fuck is wrong with you? Fucking hacking on my shit, motherfucking leaking my music, nigga. That's my goddamn job. Goddamn fucking up relationship with goddamn other motherfuckers that I fuck with, old bitch ass nigga.
Then another time, the ex-working on Dying producer, Forza, was caught selling Lil Uzi Vert leaks as he couldn't afford to live. Now, as Forza was being exposed online, he was staying in a hotel with Uzi and his group. So when Uzi found out Forza was leaking his music, Uzi kicked him out of the hotel and left him on the streets with literally nothing, which led to Forza announcing that he's going to himself and eventually joining the army. But now as we move into 2019, it really seemed like the idea of 1629 was completely dead. Many songs from the album leaked, and the duo also seemed like they were taking different paths with their solo career.
You two seem to work really well together.
Me and Carti, we really having to, we gotta fight. Like, physically fight for him to listen. Other than that, he don't hear nothing.
So not only were they not recording new music together, the idea of 1629 just probably wasn't in their mind. It was 2019, Carti would be reworking his image in preparation for his Whole Lotta Red album. He would revamp his Instagram, which included him removing 1629 from his Instagram bio, which was previously there for months. Then Uzi, well, he would be in the process of getting his Eternal Atake project released, which of course was unsuccessful as he was having issues with his label, as they were blocking him from releasing music, which led to him actively calling his label out on Twitter. His label issues caused him to announce that he's retiring, but he would end up coming out of his retirement and fighting for his freedom by dropping the classic Free Uzi. As you can see, both artists were very busy with their solo careers, and it really didn't seem like 1629 was going to release anytime soon, and Uzi would actually take it upon himself to speak on the album in that year.
Bro, y'all asked me one thing about Carti. Y'all said that why we ain't dropped 1629, bro. I said I don't got the songs. I don't have them.
And yeah, the truth was 1629 did not seem like it was happening. Not only were the songs leaking, but the artists themselves literally did not have access to their own work. So the project can't even be put together until they got these songs. Now after Carti released their last official song together on Die Lit, the duo would not be seen together anymore. Well, this is when fans were getting intrigued at where the duo are at and why we don't see them together anymore. In the November of 2019, a fan would ask on Twitter, "Are you and Carti on good terms?" Which Uzi replied with, "No." A day later, Uzi would reply to another tweet where a fan asked about him and Carti, in which he replied, "Nothing, I just took a different route," which can be thought as Uzi saying, there is nothing wrong with them, there's no beef, they're just two grown men who don't spend much time together because they are trying to work on their careers, whether that be by recording music with new artists or just performing at shows. They just simply didn't have the time to see each other anymore. But to some fans, it still seemed off. You don't just go from being super close friends to literally not being seen with each other. Well, one of the reasons this could have been was that Carti only needed Uzi for clout. Now let me explain. As I've stated multiple times throughout the video, Carti was significantly smaller than Uzi, and Carti has a long history of using his friends for clout, then ditching them when he no longer needs them. For this, we will need to go back to the start of Carti's career. He would first gain a bit of buzz within the underground once he joined the Atlanta-based collective All Fall Records in 2014. The founder of All Fall Records, Father, had a fairly big presence within the underground at the time, so he helped Carti by producing for him alongside fellow Atlanta native Ethereal. They would also post Carti's music videos, get him on interviews, and even take him on tour. After some time, Playboi Carti was starting to make noise within the scene, and long story short, he got noticed by A$AP Rocky in New York and signed to his Orge label. After Carti signed to Orge, we would never hear of him and All Fall Records again, and he would even say he was never affiliated with them in an interview down the line.
I was never off of records. Cause A$AP Mob, I always wanted to be a boss. I made myself a boss though.
Which is of course disingenuous, as Father helped Carti build the foundations of his career by allowing him to be affiliated with All Fall Records. And as soon he no longer needed them, he left them and never spoke of them again. Carti would also do the same with his childhood friends and fellow Atlanta rappers Uno the Activist and Thousand Band Fani. Bloody Dior, one of Carti's fashion friends, would get into a dispute over a girl with Uno, which is when Uno would threaten Dior. Dior would retaliate by shooting at Uno and striking him once. Now this incident would split Carti's group apart, which at the time consisted of Rocky, Fani, Uno, Ian Connor and Bloody Dior. Fani would side with Uno, but Carti, Ian and Rocky would side with Dior. Uno and Fani would get upset at Carti, as they were his childhood friends and they all came up together, just for Carti to leave them behind so he can go hang out with Rocky and the A$AP Mob, which for Carti was the obvious choice. as it would be way more beneficial for his career to be affiliated with A$AP Rocky and the A$AP Mob instead of Uno and Fani. Fani would get into his own incident with another rapper, Lil Yachty. I already explained this entire story in my video, The Vixens of Playboi Carti, so I don't want to go over it again as many of you have probably watched it, but basically Fani shot at Yachty and his manager outside of a show, barely missing them.
And he almost hit us. He hit right above us. He hit a couple meters above us. He could have hit us and we could have died that night.
So then when Yachty and his label QC saw Fani at a hotel, they decided to jump him. Now as you can see, Fani and Yachty have a bit of beef, but Carti is close friends with both of them. Carti has known Fani since they were teenagers and came up together with him. Then Yachty, who he's known for a couple years, but not as long as Fani. Now after the most recent incident at the hotel, well a week later, an interview would be released, starring Carti and Yachty, where they were laughing and cracking jokes about their relationship, which of course left a sour taste in Fani's mouth. But Carti didn't care, cause it meant he could hang out with Yachty, who at the time was blowing up with his hits Broccoli and One Night. And as we all know, clout works through osmosis, so him hanging out with Yachty meant he was just getting more exposure. And since these incidents, Carti hasn't spoken of or spoken to Fani or Uno. As you can see, Carti has a long relationship of using people for clout, then leaving them behind and completely cutting them off as soon as they no longer benefit him. Now, this can help us paint an image of how Carti saw Uzi. Yeah, they definitely were close friends, but after Carti got all the exposure he could from Uzi, it seemed like he didn't really bother to be friends with him, which you will see later on in the video. Well now, let's go back into Carti's and Uzi's history. It's 2020 and Eternal Take has just dropped, and we haven't seen an Uzi Carti collab in over 2 years. And many were even expecting Carti to be on the tape, as during the rollout for Eternal Take, Lil Uzi Vert responded to a fan on Twitter stating that him and Carti aren't beefing. A fan would also say, "You said you and Carti has over 1,000 songs together, drop one," which Uzi replied with, "I would love, just don't know where he at," stating that he wants to drop music with Carti. He just doesn't know if Carti wants to and doesn't know where Carti even is. And just a couple weeks later, a fan would post a leaked 1629 song, Big Bang, and asked Uzi if we're ever going to hear this song. Well, Uzi wouldn't say anything, but he did retweet it, which got fans really thinking Carti was going to be on this tape, and fans would be able to finally hear Carti x Uzi after a 2-year drought. But fans were left disappointed, as Carti was nowhere to be seen on Eternal Take. However, just a month later, Carti would tease his single, Atme, by posting the cover art on his social media on the 15th of April in 2020. And on that same day, he would also post a handful of tweets, with one of them being, "I cannot beef a beer, yeah," which fans thought was aimed at Uzi. Well, Uzi would take it upon himself to recreate the cover with himself on it, and also post it on his social media. And fans thought this was the start of a beef. I mean, just a month before, Uzi was saying that he doesn't know where Carti is and that he wants to release music with him, he just can't. And now he's recreating his album covers. It just seems weird. Well, the situation would get even weirder when Uzi would start tweeting and Carti would get involved. So after Uzi tweeted his own version of the Atme cover, he would then tweet, "This shit about to be fun, devil emoji, smiling emoji," which was a bit cryptic. Lil Uzi Vert's producer, Molly Raw, would then tweet, "New Carti shit slap," which Uzi quote tweeted with a laughing emoji, which fans interpreted as him laughing at Molly Raw's comment, basically saying that Carti's new single was a joke. But then he would send out another cryptic tweet saying, "Playboi Carti, upside down smiley face." Now, as you can see, first recreating his single cover, then laughing at someone who said his new single is fire, then tweeting Playboi Carti with an upside down smiley face. Fans were a bit confused. They didn't know if it was beef or just Uzi trying to get attention. Well, it seemed like the latter was true, and it was a pretty genius plan for them to bring attention to themselves and Carti's new single. Carti would then get involved with this Twitter thing. He would tweet Monday in Cartonese. Uzi then tweeted in response, "At Playboi Carti, so you dropping Monday which then he would follow up with Monday in the same language that Carti tweeted in. Now fans thought this meant Carti and Uzi are dropping on Monday, finally, after a 2-year drought. And maybe 1629 is on the way? But guess what? Monday came and nothing dropped. And it seemed like these guys reunited just to edge their fans on social media. Uzi would continue trolling us by saying that the beef is not fake, they've met up and fought over the beef. Around a week later, Carti tweeted, "Lil Uzi Vert, I love you twin," which Uzi quote tweeted saying he loves him back. Now to summarize everything that just happened, Uzi retweeted a 1629 song and then they revealed they love each other on social media. It seemed like the duo was reunited. And this is when fans thought, this is it. This is the time 1629 was going to drop, or at least they were going to get a song between the duo. Well, the chances of 1629 releasing seemed more likely day by day, as an image of the two in the studio would leak a couple months later, which is when they were together in Philly, where they would be playing the PlayStation and recording the song SRT. And to express to you guys how close they were as friends, well, Playboi Carti missed his son's Onyx birth to play the PlayStation and record with Lil Uzi Vert, which Iggy Azalea exposed Carti for.
While I was pregnant, this man didn't even come to see his son be born. He went to Philly to play the PlayStation with Lil Uzi. He thought that was more important than seeing his son be born. And I had a scheduled C-section, by the way, because my son was so big that they were like, you can't have a natural birth.
But as we move forwards, Hollow the Red would eventually drop on the Christmas of 2020, and fans were disappointed when there was no Uzi feature, and were seemingly confused because the duo were tweeting back and forth and were even spotted together. Then for a couple months, it would be silence between the two again. But finally, in the August of 2021, Uzi would send out some tweets regarding 1629, with the first one being 1629, kiss emoji, XXXXXXXX. He would then follow this up with, bro, just ask Carti. Basically saying, if you want 1629, go and ask Carti. Which at this point, fans were obviously excited, but they pretty much knew Uzi was just trolling and wanted attention, especially with what him and Carti were doing last year. Now again, like in 2017, this would have been a good time to drop a collab tape. Uzi dropped his Eternal Take last year, and Carti just dropped Hollow the Red a couple months ago, meaning their solo careers were taken care of, and they would have time to work on a collab tape. But from those Uzi tweets, it didn't seem like Carti was down. Uzi would actually speak further on the matter on the stream with Aiden Ross.
Okay, someone said if you could have a collab album with somebody, I think I've asked you before probably, but like who would it be? Any collab album with somebody.
If I could drop a collab album right now, I'd probably drop. The first collab album I want to drop is 1629.
That's you and Carti, right?
You tell me.
With these comments, Uzi was just reinforcing the fact that he literally wants to release 1629, but he's waiting on Carti. But what confuses me about this is that just about a year later, Carti was asked in an interview, will we ever hear 1629? Which Carti responded with, Uzi is working on mad music right now. I don't know if he's serious about a lot of things, but I hope one day we can change the world with that, for sure. So basically Uzi is saying he's waiting on Carti, but now Carti is saying that Uzi is the one that is busy. And he is the one in fact that wants to drop the tape. It seems like Carti is the one that is not willing to work on 1629. Even with his response to this question, he kind of dodged it and flipped it onto Uzi, instead of stating his own opinion if the 1629 tape will come out.
Well, I hate to break it to you, I already have all the leaks, so I will be playing them on stream after this. You
know what's crazy? You talking about you had the leaks, but we recorded 1629 in London and nobody had them. I don't even have them, so ha.
So Uzi just stated that all the songs they recorded in that 2017 period were in London and no one has heard them, and that he himself doesn't have access to the songs. So does that mean the songs that have leaked previously weren't officially on 1629, they were just random Carti Uzi songs? And does this mean they never even officially worked on 1629 since they never had access to the songs in the first place? It was just a concept album to hype up fans? Or just to sell out a tour?
The album's done?
Bro, look at you always starting shit. No. But, you know, there's a lot of songs that me and Carti got over, like, really, no lie. We got over, like, new, and I'm talking about from 2020 to 2022, because I had saw Carti in New York in 2022. From 20 to 2022, me and Carti probably got, and these is not including old songs that y'all never heard, probably like 40 songs.
Wow, that I've just never heard.
That I never even talk about because it ain't even like, you know, that shit.
What the fuck? That's crazy.
So it seemed like in 2021 and 2022, Carti and Uzi were still recording, and they in fact had worked on a second version of 1629 with updated songs that are completely unheard. Uzi would then finish off by stating that it's between him and Carti if the project releases. They need to sit down and properly finish it, and until then, there's nothing to talk about.
I don't even talk about that shit because it ain't even nothing. It ain't even nothing to talk about. That's for me and bro. Whatever me and bro figure out, when we figure it out and put it out. But me and bro got millions. We got a lot of songs. And when I say millions of songs, 40 songs, a lot of songs.
Yeah, for sure. So, wow, that's crazy.
But that's my like, that's my collab tape right there. That's my tape that I know, like, it's like, if that all the way happens and get put together the right way, then that's him. That's him.
Damn, bro, y'all really got
and for the ladies, that's her.
Damn, y'all really got a collect. Damn.
That's my brother, nigga. What the fuck you expect? What you thought niggas be fake brothers?
Damn.
Carti and Uzi would actually be seen twice later in 2021. One time where they were wearing matching Narcissist bombers, which is Carti's merch, then at Rolling Loud New York, where Carti brought out Uzi to perform their most recent collab together, Shooter, which brought tears to many fans' eyes, as this duo weren't seen live for years. Then it would be silence again, until the rollout for Lil Uzi Vert's Pink Tape in 2023, where Uzi posted an Instagram story which read, "Me and my love about to take over the world," which fans took as Uzi hinting at a Carti feature on Pink Tape. But Pink Tape released and there was no Carti feature. Well, actually, Uzi's team would accidentally release the Carti Uzi leak, pass it as a song on Pink Tape onto YouTube, which was completely random, but it got almost instantly deleted, and Bobalam would actually come out and reveal the truth behind what happened with this Carti feature, as there was more to it than just an employee accidentally uploading the song.
So Carti was actually on it at one point, like 5 days ago. And then he pulled the plug on the song because he didn't like it. It wasn't adhesive or cohesive with his opium sound, like the dark, grungy, like rock star shit for his next album. He wasn't answering Uzi or sending him another verse. He was just saying, like, he wasn't even messaging him at all. So he ghosted him until the day before Pink Tape, where then he asked for like all the Pink Tape songs allegedly. And then, like, obviously at that point, it's just too late.
So yeah, it seemed like Carti screwed Uzi over for the feature on Pink Tape. But Carti did this as well for Whole Lotta Red. Just a couple weeks before the release of the album in 2020, Uzi stated to a fan that he's on track 3 and track 16 of Whole Lotta Red. But Carti would go on to re-record the whole album around 2 weeks before the official release. So Uzi got his features removed and never made it onto the album. Then pretty much the last thing I could find between the two was a Lil Uzi Vert fan page that came out and stated that Carti has been acting weird towards Uzi since 2020. And Uzi said himself, "I'm not dropping no collab album with a fella who goes on and off like a light switch. He been tripped out more than I was," which can be thought as Uzi saying he doesn't even want to drop the tape anymore, as Carti has been acting weird towards him for a couple years. And guys, to be truthfully honest, it's been 6 years since we last saw an official Carti Uzi collab, and I think it may be the last one. For me, it really seemed like Carti is the one that distanced himself from Uzi, as he is the one that is always dodging questions and avoiding Uzi, whereas Uzi is the one always coming out and telling the world how he loves Carti and wants to release music with him. So for this, we need to analyse how Carti works. As I mentioned before, he ditched Awful Records, Uno and Fani so he can hang out with ASAP, which leveled up his career. And now that the ASAP mob and those guys in New York aren't as popular anymore, he's completely left them in the dust and doesn't hang out with them anymore. The same thing can be seen with Pierre Bourne. They made a generational album with Die Lit, but as soon as Carti didn't need his beats, he completely left him and doesn't speak to him anymore. Pierre even had to beg Carti's friend to let him in the studio with them. And to me at least, it seems like the same thing happened with Uzi. Uzi got Carti his 3 most popular songs by giving him features, which gave him an insane amount of exposure. But as Carti grew bigger and bigger, he no longer needed Uzi. Especially now more recently, where the hype for Carti is greater than Uzi. Carti now only works with people who will help his career. That's why he's been giving features to Drake, Travis Scott, The Weeknd and Kanye, because they will give him the exposure and fame. Whereas Uzi doesn't provide anything to Carti, apart from maybe a bit of nostalgia. The truth is, Carti is a narcissist and has a self-proclaimed bipolar disorder, so we will never know how he thinks or what to ever expect from him. But to me, it seems like the idea of 1629 or any Carti Uzi collab is pretty much dead.